Good afternoon, Baton Rouge. I want to say welcome to the Israel of God Bible study class here in Baton Rouge, where we teach the Bible by subject and title. And you know what, sisters and brothers, in Ephesians, the 4th chapter, it says that there's one body, one spirit, one Lord, and one faith. This whole Bible was dictated by one God. That's why we hear a lot of things repeated over and over again. It's said in slightly different ways, but it's the same thing. But then you have these smart people, and I got air quotes, smart people that say the Bible contradicts itself. You have some people that'll say, well, we just read the Old Testament. And some say, well, we just read the New. And then others will say, well, we just read the Torah. Or should I say the first 5 books written by Moses. But the truth is, this Bible confirms itself. And in today's lesson, which is titled The Gospel According to Isaiah, the Gospel According to Isaiah is the title of today's lesson. And we will see that Isaiah wrote some things all the way back in the 8th century BC. That happened 200 years later. He wrote some stuff that happened 700 years later. And he even wrote some things that we are still waiting on them to happen. But one thing is for sure, if the prophet wrote it, it's going to happen. Because the Lord dictated it to him to write it down. And we know that the Lord don't make mistakes like that. So we're going to start today's lesson in the 6th chapter of Isaiah. You may as well get you a marker and put it in Isaiah, because we're going to be in and out of them all day. Okay? Ushers, excuse me. Can we deal with that situation real quick, please? So we're going to start this lesson in Isaiah 6. Because Jesus told us in the 14th chapter of Mark that all things must be fulfilled. And then he told you in Luke 24 and 44 that everything that was written by Moses and all the rest of them prophets, including the Psalms, concerning him must be fulfilled. So if it was written, it's going to happen. So today we are just going to look at a variety of things that Isaiah put on the table. Isaiah 6, my brother Cortland. Brother Cortland is the reader for today. And for those that don't know me, my name is Brother James. Isaiah 6, my brother, let's pick it up at the first verse. 6 and 1. 6 and 1. Go ahead and read.
In the year that King Uzziah died, I saw also the Lord sitting upon a throne, high and lifted up, and his train filled the temple.
Go ahead.
Above it stood the seraphims. Each one had 6 wings. With twain he covered his face, and with twain he covered his feet, and with twain he did fly.
Y'all know they always been showing you angels of a little blonde-headed kid with a little blonde afro with wings on. And say that's an angel. Angel got 6 wings, got 4 faces, got calves' feet. If you saw one, you'd probably pass out like some of the people in this Bible would do. Go ahead and read, brother.
And one cried unto another and said, Holy, holy, holy is the Lord of hosts. The whole earth is full of his glory.
So it says, one of them cried out and said, Holy, holy, holy is the Lord of hosts. So let's see what Isaiah said in the midst of having this vision. Skip down to verse 5, my brother, and continue.
Then said I, Woe is me, for I am undone, because I am a man of unclean lips.
So right away, having this vision, he's looking at his own faults, which some of us find hard to do. But he saw his. Go ahead and read.
And I dwell in the midst of a people of unclean lips.
He said, I have unclean lips, and the people I hang out with got unclean lips. Go ahead and read.
For mine eyes have seen the King.
Yes.
The Lord of hosts.
Go ahead.
Then flew one of the seraphims unto me, having a live coal in his hand, which he had taken with the tongs from off the altar.
Go ahead.
And he laid it upon my mouth, and said, Lo, this hath touched thy lips, and thine iniquity is taken away, and thy sin is purged.
And just that quickly, an angel in this vision, he took a coal, put it on Isaiah's lips and said, your sin is taken away. Go ahead and read.
Also I heard the voice of the Lord saying, whom shall I send? And who will go for us?
He said, then he heard the voice of the Lord saying, who shall I send? And who will go for us? What did Isaiah say, brother?
Then said I, here am I, send me.
So he volunteered. He said, I'm right here, just send me. Go ahead and read.
And he said, go and tell this people.
So right away, the Lord said, hey, Isaiah, go and tell this people. Go ahead and read.
Hear ye indeed, but understand not. And see ye indeed, but perceive not.
We see that today. You'll read that Bible all day to people, and they just won't see it. They just won't perceive it. You tell them all day, hey, I'm sorry, supervisor, manager, but I can't come to the Christmas party. And they be like, well, Merry Christmas anyway. I'm telling you, I don't do that. Hearing, you won't hear, and in seeing, you still won't even perceive it. Go ahead and read.
Make the heart of this people fat, and make their ears heavy.
He said, make their heart fat and their ears heavy. Go ahead and read.
And shut their eyes.
And shut their eyes, or else what? Go ahead.
Lest they see with their eyes, and hear with their ears, and understand with their heart, and convert and be healed.
But that's what's not going to happen. The people are not going to hear. They're not going to see. So they won't convert. And then if you don't convert, you cannot be healed. Conversion has to take place. And the Lord told you, unless you become as a little child and be converted, you will have no place in his kingdom. Y'all need to understand what he was saying when he said that. If I say go left, you go left. If I say stop, you stop. If I say do 18 jumping jacks, you do 18 jumping jacks. Not 17, not 12, not 20, 18. And if I say you have a holy convocation on the 7th day of the week, that's when you do it. And if you don't do it, it's a flat out contravention to the word of God. You violating. This stuff is real simple when you really look at it. So now, let's press on. Let's go to Matthew chapter 13, because right here he told Isaiah, you go out there, Isaiah, and you tell these people. He said, but while you telling them, they're not going to hear you. They're not going to perceive. They're not going to understand. They're not going to see, because their ears heavy and their eyes are shut. Matthew chapter 13, and let's pick it up at verse 10. Matthew 13 and 10, my brother. Isaiah wrote all this good stuff, and it came to pass, and we still waiting on some of it. 13 and 10. Go ahead and read.
And the disciples came and said unto him, why speakest thou unto them in parables?
So Jesus just did the parable of the sowing of the seeds. And so they asked him, why are you speaking in parables? Go ahead and read.
He answered and said unto them, because it is given unto you to know the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven. But to them it is not given.
Skip down to 13 and continue.
Therefore speak I to them in parables.
Why is that, brother?
Because they see not.
You looking, but you still don't see. Go ahead.
And hearing, they hear not.
You listening, but you just don't hear. Go ahead.
Neither do they understand.
Go ahead and read.
And in them is fulfilled the prophecy of Isaiah.
The prophecy of who?
Isaiah.
Because we just read it in the 6th chapter, which is what? Go ahead.
Which saith, by hearing ye shall hear, and shall not understand.
Go ahead.
And seeing ye shall see, and shall not perceive.
Go ahead and read.
For this people's heart is waxed gross, and their ears are dull of hearing.
Yes.
And their eyes they have closed.
He said their ears are heavy and their eyes are shut. Didn't Isaiah say that? Go ahead and read.
Lest at any time they should see with their eyes, and hear with their ears, and should understand with their heart.
Yes.
And should be converted, and I should heal them.
Go ahead.
But blessed are your eyes.
Why?
For they see.
So the Lord told them, but blessed are your eyes because you do see. Go ahead.
And your ears. For they hear.
Blessed are your ears because they do hear. So now let's stay in the Matthew. Let's go into that 15th chapter. And I hope y'all put a marker in Isaiah because we're going back there several times today. Matthew chapter 15. And let's pick up this point where Jesus and his disciple come in and get approached by the Jews, the Pharisees. Matthew 15 and 1. Go ahead and read.
Then came to Jesus scribes and Pharisees, which were of Jerusalem, saying, Why do thy disciples transgress the tradition of the elders? For they wash not their hands when they eat bread.
Go ahead.
But he answered and said unto them, Why do ye also transgress the commandment of God by your tradition?
And that's what everybody's out here doing. They got traditions which cause them to break the commandments of God. Go ahead and read.
For God commanded, saying, Honor thy father and mother.
Who commanded that?
God.
So God say, do what? Honor your mother and your father. That's what he said, right? God said that. Go ahead and read.
And he that curseth father or mother, let him die the death.
That's what God said. Go ahead and read.
But ye say.
But now Jesus telling them, he say, but you say, which is what I told that sister when she told me, well, you know, they have these cleaner processes to clean up pork now where you can eat it now. And I said, let's go back and read Leviticus 11. And she read it, and God say the swine is unclean. I say, now God say the swine is unclean. Now what you say? And she said, well, like I was saying, they have cleaner processes now. Then I said, let's read that one more time. And we read it again. And I say, now God say the pig is unclean. Now what did you say? She said, oh, you trying to be funny. I see your point now. But God said this, that's it. Once he says it, that's it. But you say, go ahead and read.
Whosoever shall say to his father or his mother, it is a gift, by whatsoever thou mightest be profited by me, and honor not his father or his mother, he shall be free.
They say that if you taking care of your parents, you don't have to respect them and honor them. But God didn't say that. He say honor your mother and your father. That's it. And if you go read it in Deuteronomy, he said that your days may be long.
Right.
Go ahead and finish that verse.
Thus have ye made the commandment of God of none effect by your tradition.
And that's what they do. By your tradition, you made the command of God none effect. Go ahead and read.
Ye hypocrites.
Ye hypocrites.
Well did Isaiah prophesy of you, saying, This people draweth nigh unto me with their mouth, and honoreth me with their lips.
He say, Isaiah said it real good. Y'all do a lot of lip service. Oh, praise Jesus. Hallelujah. I plead the blood. Isaiah said that real good. Go ahead and read.
But their heart is far from me.
But your heart is far from him because you do what you want to do. You're doing what you want to do. Go ahead and read.
But in vain they do worship me.
They worship Jesus for nothing. Go ahead and read.
Teaching for doctrines the commandment of men.
Your doctrine is the commandment of men. You worshiping him for nothing. But it said Isaiah told us that the people do that lip service. Let's go to the 29th chapter of Isaiah and look at it. Isaiah 29. Oh, it's real sweet coming off your lips. But when it comes to you doing what you should do, nah. Isaiah 29, verse 13. 29 and 13. Because Jesus said, Isaiah said this real well, right? 29 and 13. Go ahead and read.
Wherefore the Lord said, For as much as this people draw near me with their mouth, and with their lips do honor me,
yes,
but have removed their heart far from me, and their fear toward me is taught by the precept of men.
They haven't been taught any fear of the Lord. They actually say you're not supposed to fear God. You had better. You know what I know, you'll fear him. So now, let's go to the first chapter of Isaiah, because we see that Isaiah volunteered to go. He said, I'll go, Lord. When the Lord said, who's going to go? He said, I'll go. Now let's go to the first chapter of Isaiah, and let's see what the first thing he started talking about. He hit the ground running. Let's see what the first thing he started talking about. Isaiah chapter 1, my brother. First verse. Isaiah 1 and 1. What was the first thing he said? Go ahead and read.
the vision of Isaiah, the son of Amos, which he saw concerning Judah and Jerusalem in the days of Uzziah, Jotham, Ahaz, and Hezekiah, kings of Judah.
Go ahead.
Hear, O heavens, and give ear, O earth, for the Lord hath spoken. I have nourished and brought up children, and they have rebelled against me.
The first thing he started talking about is God say, I nourished these children and brought them up. In other places, he say, I planted a vineyard and I looked for some grapes. But what did he get, y'all?
Wow.
He got some wild grapes. So he said, these children rebelled against me. The first thing he started talking about. Go ahead and read.
The ox knoweth his owner, and the ass his master's crib.
Go ahead.
But Israel does not know.
Go ahead.
My people does not consider.
Go ahead.
Ah, sinful nation.
Yes.
A people laden with iniquity.
He said Israel is a sinful nation, a people laden with sin. Go ahead.
A seed of evildoers. Children that are corrupted. They have forsaken the Lord.
Wait a minute. They did what?
Forsaken the Lord.
Let's go and find out what happens to us if we forsake God. Go ahead and read.
They have provoked the Holy One of Israel unto anger.
That's what happens when you forsake your God. You provoke him to anger. Are we reading this?
Yes, sir.
You provoke him to anger when you forsake him. Go ahead and read.
They are gone away backward.
He said they are gone away backward. Skip down to verse 18, because you can go into Isaiah the 8th chapter. He said that the Lord became a rock of offense to both houses of Israel, to Judah and to Israel. And then Peter even repeated it in the 2nd chapter of 1 Peter. God is a rock of offense to both houses of Israel. They are offended by him. Verse 18, my brother, go ahead and read.
Come now, and let us reason together, saith the Lord.
Wait a minute. God say let us reason together? Y'all see y'all got a reasonable God? He'll sit down and reason with you. He asked the question, what iniquity have I done for you to turn away from me? What have I done? What have I not done? He said, come now and let us reason together. Go ahead and read.
Though your sins be as scarlet, they shall be as white as snow.
He said, I'll wipe your sins away. Go ahead and read.
Though they be red like crimson, they shall be as wool.
Go ahead.
If ye be willing and obedient.
Wait a minute. You got something there. You got the price. That's the price. If you be willing and obedient, go ahead and read.
Ye shall eat the good of the land. But if ye refuse. And rebel.
Go ahead.
Ye shall be devoured.
You shall be what?
Devoured.
We need to underline that word devoured because we're going to see it again. He said you're going to be devoured. Go ahead and read.
With the sword.
Yes.
For the mouth of the Lord hath spoken it.
So he said the mouth of the Lord spoken it. He told Isaiah to write that stuff down. So now let's go into Jeremiah, the 19th chapter, because he said right out the gate, Israel rebelled against the Lord. They were some rebellious children, laden with iniquity and sin. Jeremiah 19, let's pick it up at the first verse. 19 and verse 1. Go ahead and read.
Thus saith the Lord, go and get a potter's earthen bottle, and take of the ancients of the people, and of the ancients of the priests, and go forth into the valley of the son of Hinnom, which is by the entry of the east gate, and proclaim there the words that I shall tell thee.
So the Lord is telling them, go out there and tell Israel every word I'm about to tell you. Go ahead and read.
And say, hear ye the word of the Lord, O kings of Judah, and inhabitants of Jerusalem.
Go ahead.
Thus saith the Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, behold, I will bring evil upon this place, the which whosoever heareth, his ears shall tingle.
The Lord say he bring evil. Well, can we read that? He said he's going to bring evil upon Jerusalem. Go ahead and read.
Because they have forsaken me.
Why?
Because they have forsaken me.
Because they have forsaken the Lord. Go ahead.
And have estranged this place. And have burned incense in it unto other gods.
They burn incense to other gods. Go ahead.
Whom neither they nor their fathers have known, nor the kings of Judah, and have filled this place with the blood of innocents.
Go ahead.
They have built also the high places of Baal.
They have built altars to worship the devil. Go ahead and read.
To burn their sons with fire for burnt offerings unto Baal.
And they had this god Molech. And they burned their babies in his hand in some of the statues. And some of them, it was just an open circle in his belly. They burned their babies in there. Go ahead and read.
Which I commanded not,
nor
spake it, neither came it into my mind.
Go ahead.
Therefore, behold, the days come, saith the Lord.
So the Lord told Isaiah to say this. The day is going to come. Go ahead and read.
That this place shall no more be called Tophet, nor the valley of the son of Hinnom.
He said the day is going to come that this place going to get a new name. What is it going to be, brother?
But the valley of slaughter.
It's going to be called the valley of slaughter. Because the Lord is going to rattle some people's cages and send them down there so they can bring you some harm. Let's go and look at what happened as a result of that. Let's go into the second chapter of Lamentations, which is right after Jeremiah. Lamentations chapter 2. Lamentations chapter 2, and let's start at verse 1. Now Jeremiah, he was heartbroken. He was lamenting the fact that Israel got done in such a violent way. But he got spared. Lamentations 2 and 1. Go ahead and read, brother.
How hath the Lord covered the daughter of Zion with a cloud in his anger?
Didn't we say when you provoke him to anger, when you forsake him? We read that, right? He said he covered Zion with a cloud in his anger. Go ahead and read.
And cast down from heaven unto the earth the beauty of Israel. And remembered not his footstool in the day of his anger.
Go ahead.
The Lord hath swallowed up all the inhabitants of Jacob. And have not pitied. He hath thrown down in his wrath the strongholds of the daughter of Judah.
It said he didn't have any pity, right? He had Hosea to go marry this woman and name one of those babies Jezreel. Then name the next one Laruhamah. And he said, the reason I want you to name that child Laruhamah, because it's going to symbolize I will have no more mercy on Israel. And right here in this verse, it said the Lord didn't have any pity. That means when he sent people in there, they raping your women, they killing your women, they killing your elderly, they killing your babies and your children. Sound like 2019, doesn't it? Go ahead and read.
He hath brought them down to the ground. He hath polluted the kingdom and the princes thereof.
Go ahead.
He hath cut off in his fierce anger all the horn of Israel. He hath drawn back his right hand from before the enemy.
Yes.
And he burned against Jacob like a flaming fire.
The Lord is against you like a flaming fire. You can't win. Go ahead and read.
Which devoureth round about.
Then he said you're going to be devoured. Go ahead and read.
He hath bent his bow like an enemy.
He said the Lord bent his bow like he was your enemy. Go ahead.
He stood with his right hand as an adversary and slew all that were pleasant to the eye in the tabernacle of the daughter of Zion.
Go ahead.
He poured out his fury like fire.
Now all this stuff we're reading is past tense. It said he bent his bow, he stood, he slew, he poured out. This is past tense. This is after the stuff happened. Go ahead and read.
The Lord was an enemy. He hath swallowed up Israel. He hath swallowed up all her palaces. He hath destroyed his strongholds and hath increased in the daughter of Judah mourning and lamentation.
So he increased a whole lot of mourning and a whole lot of lamentation. Go ahead and read.
And he hath violently taken away his tabernacle as if it were of a garden.
Go ahead.
He hath destroyed his places of the assembly.
The
Lord hath caused the solemn feasts and Sabbaths to be forgotten in Zion.
Go ahead.
And have despised in the indignation of his anger the king and the priest.
He despised the kings and the priests because they were the ones that should have been righteous leaders, but they were not. Because in most cases, if the heads are right, the followers are right. Skip down to verse 17, my brother, and read that.
The Lord hath done that which he had devised.
So it says the Lord did that which he had devised. Go ahead and read.
He hath fulfilled his word that he had commanded in the days of old.
He gave them to Isaiah. And Isaiah wrote them. And they happened. Go ahead and read.
He hath thrown down and have not pitied.
Yeah, no pity, no mercy. Go ahead.
And he have caused thine enemy to rejoice over thee.
Uh-huh.
He hath set up the horn of thine adversaries.
So you can't get mad at these other races of people because the Lord set their horn up against you to hit you on the head with the hammer every time you get out of line.
Right.
He set that up. Can't get mad at these people. The Lord works through people. So now, let's go in Isaiah, the 9th chapter. Let's look at something else that Isaiah prophesied about. And this happened. Isaiah 9. If the prophet wrote it, it was good. Isaiah chapter 9, my brother, let's pick it up at verse 6. 9 and 6. Isaiah 9. You should have your mark in Isaiah because we're going to go in it today probably 20 more times. Maybe 30. Go ahead and read.
For unto us a child is born.
For unto us a child is born. Go ahead.
Unto us a son is given.
Uh-huh.
And the government shall be upon his shoulders. And his name shall be called Wonderful, Counselor, the Mighty God.
This child is going to be called the Mighty God. Go ahead and read.
The Everlasting Father, the Prince of Peace.
Go ahead.
Of the increase of his government and peace there shall be no end. Upon the throne of David and upon his kingdom, to order it and to establish it with judgment and with justice from henceforth even for forever.
Uh-huh.
The zeal of the Lord of hosts will perform this.
So the zeal of the Lord of hosts will perform this. Let's go into the 53rd chapter. Because right away we know who he's talking about right there, about that child. Isaiah 53, let's pick it up at the first verse. Isaiah 53 and verse 1. Go ahead and read, brother.
Who have believed our report?
So that's the question Isaiah is asking. Who has believed our report? And to that, if you ask me, I will say about 5% of the people. That's just my guesstimation. Because don't nobody believe the report. Y'all know I'm not lying. You talk to people, don't nobody believe the report. Otherwise, we need a 80,000 capacity seat arena to have the Sabbath class in.
Right.
Don't nobody believe the report, man. Go ahead and read.
And to whom is the arm of the Lord revealed?
We know who he revealed it to, Israel. Go ahead and read.
For he shall grow up before him as a tender plant, and as a root out of a dry ground. He have no form nor comeliness, and when we shall see him, there is no beauty that we should desire him.
Go ahead.
He is despised and rejected of men.
It said, it's talking about Jesus here. It said he's going to be despised and rejected of men. They still do that today. Go ahead.
A man of sorrows and acquainted with grief. And we hid, as it were, our faces from him.
Yes.
He was despised and we esteemed him not.
We esteemed him not. We despise him. They did it then. They do it now. Go ahead and read.
Surely he hath borne our griefs.
He said he has borne our griefs.
And carried our sorrows.
And carried our sorrows. Go ahead.
Yet we did esteem him stricken.
Smitten
of God and afflicted.
So now, let's hold our spot because we coming right back here. Let's go into Matthew chapter 8 real quick. And we coming right back to the 53rd chapter of Isaiah. Let's look at something. Because Isaiah said Jesus is going to be rejected and despised. And I'm going to show y'all right now what we about to read, some real rejection. And Matthew chapter 8, they rejected him and they despised him. Matthew chapter 8, let's pick it up at verse 1. 8 and 1, my brother. 8 and 1. Go ahead and read.
When he was come down from the mountain, great multitudes followed him.
Go ahead.
And behold, there came a leper and worshipped him, saying, Lord, if thou wilt, thou canst make me clean. And Jesus put forth his hand and touched him, saying, I will, be thou clean. And immediately his leprosy was cleansed.
Y'all pay attention to what we about to read here. Jesus cleaned this man with leprosy, right? Skip down to verse 5 and read that.
And when Jesus was entered into Capernaum, there came unto him a centurion beseeching him, and saying, Lord, my servant lieth at home sick of the palsy, grievously tormented. And Jesus saith unto him, I will come and heal him.
So Jesus told the centurion, I'll come heal you. But the centurion say, look, I'm not worthy of you to come into my house. You just say the word and it'll be done. So they went on back and forth. Skip down to verse 13 and continue.
And Jesus said unto the centurion, go thy way, and as thou hast believed.
He said, as thou hast believed,
so be it done unto thee.
Go ahead.
And his servant was healed in the selfsame hour.
So he healed the man with the palsy. Go ahead and read.
And when Jesus was coming to Peter's house, he saw his wife's mother laid and sick of a fever. Mm-hmm. And he touched her hand, and the fever left her.
Go ahead.
And she arose and ministered unto him.
Uh-huh.
When the evening was come, they brought unto him many that were possessed with devils, and he cast out the spirit with his word, and healed all that were sick.
Wow. Go ahead and read.
That it might be fulfilled, which was spoken by Isaiah the prophet, saying, himself took our infirmities and bare our sickness.
Didn't we just read that in the 53rd chapter of Isaiah? Skip on down, my brother, verse 28.
And when he was come to the other side into the country of the Gergesenes, there met him two possessed with devils, coming out of the tombs, exceeding fierce, so that no man might pass by their way. And behold, they cried out, saying, what have we to do with thee, Jesus, thou Son of God? Or thou come hither to torment us before the time?
Wait a minute. We see some devils confessing the name Jesus. So why do people say that's all you got to do to be saved? These devils got a lake of fire waiting on them. So they asked Jesus, there's a herd of swine over there. Can we go over there? Skip down, my brother, verse 32 and see what happened.
And he said unto them, go. And when they were come out, they went into the herd of swine, and behold, the whole herd of swine ran violently down a steep place into the sea, and perished in the water.
Go ahead.
And they that kept them fled, and went their ways into the city, and told everything and what was befallen to the possessed of the devil.
So the people that saw that happen, that kept the herd of the swine, they went back to the city and told everybody what Jesus did. Now, mind you, he healed a leper, somebody with palsy, Peter's mother-in-law with the fever. He cast out many devils and healed all the sick people. And then he just took these demons out of these guys. Right? Let's see what happened in the next verse. Go ahead and read.
And behold, the whole city came.
Who came out?
The whole city.
The whole city came out. Go ahead.
To meet Jesus. And when they saw him, they besought him that he would depart out of their coast.
The book said he was despised and rejected. They said, Jesus, will you please leave our coast, sir? You doing all this healing, casting out all these devils. We don't need that around here. Do y'all see what we read here?
Yeah.
They asked him to leave. But Isaiah told you before he came, he was going to be despised and rejected, even though he's doing good, all good. So I'm letting y'all know right now, when you're around your family, when you're at your job, when you're at school, and you doing what's right according to the word of God, and people hate you, just keep it in your mind what we just read right here in Matthew chapter 8. Just keep that in mind. That's how they did your God. So you cannot think that you're going to have it easy. So now, let's go back to Isaiah 53. Isaiah told us they were going to despise him and reject him. What you think you got coming? Yes, sir. 53. Isaiah 53. We ended on verse 4, so we're going to pick it up at the 5th verse. 53 and 5. We talking Jesus here. Isaiah is. 53 and 5, my brother. Go ahead and read.
But he was wounded for our transgression.
He was wounded for whose?
Ours.
Go ahead.
He was bruised for our iniquity. The chastisement of our peace was upon him.
Go ahead.
And with his stripes we are healed.
So Isaiah told us, with his stripes we are healed. Go ahead and read.
All we like sheep have gone astray.
We did what?
Gone astray.
He said, like sheep we have gone astray. Go ahead and read.
We have turned everyone to his own way.
And we still do it right now. Go ahead and read.
And the Lord have laid on him the iniquity of us all.
He said the Lord have laid on Jesus the iniquity of all of us. Go ahead and read.
He was oppressed and he was afflicted, yet he opened not his mouth. He is brought as a lamb to the slaughter.
Because John told us he is the Lamb of God. Go ahead and read.
And as a sheep before her shearers is dumb, so he openeth not his mouth. He was taken from prison and from judgment. And who shall declare his generation?
Go ahead.
For he was cut off out of the land of the living.
It said, who shall declare his generation? It's like we saw in Matthew 1 when Herod didn't know who this supposedly king of the Jews was born. He said, go kill every male baby 2 years and under. So there wasn't no children, no male children in that little age bracket right there. So who shall declare his generation? But go ahead and read.
For the transgression of my people was he stricken.
Go ahead.
And he made his grave with the wicked. And with the rich in his death.
So he had a rich man's grave. Isaiah's telling us that. Go ahead and read.
Because he had done no violence. Neither was any deceit in his mouth.
Go ahead.
Yet it pleased the Lord to bruise him. He hath put him to grief. When thou shalt make his soul an offering for sin.
He made what an offering for sin?
His soul.
But in Hebrews 10 it said his body was an offering for sin.
That's right.
That's the Bible letting you know that your soul is your body. Your body is your soul, is your body, is your soul, is your body. Go ahead and read.
He shall see his seed. He shall prolong his days.
Yes.
And the pleasure of the Lord shall prosper in his hand. He shall see of the travail of his soul and shall be satisfied.
Yes.
By his knowledge.
By his what?
By his knowledge. Shall my righteous servant justify many. For he shall bear their iniquities.
Again, he said the Lord's going to bear our iniquities. Go ahead and read.
Therefore will I divide him a portion with the great. And he shall divide the spoil with the strong. Because he hath poured out his soul unto death.
Go ahead.
And he was numbered with the transgressors.
Yes.
And he bare the sin of many. And made intercession for the transgressors.
He made intercession for the transgressors. So now, let's go into the 27th chapter of Matthew. Matthew chapter 27. Because Isaiah said he was in the grave of the rich. So let's go Matthew chapter 27 and see if that came to pass. Matthew chapter 27, and let's pick it up at verse 57. 27 and 57. Let's see if that one little detail was there. Because if the Lord had Isaiah to write that, we got to see it. Matthew 27 and 57. 27 and 57. Go ahead and read.
When the even was come, there came a rich man.
There came who?
A rich man.
A rich man. Go ahead.
Of Arimathea, named Joseph, who also himself was Jesus' disciple.
Go ahead.
He went to Pilate and begged the body of Jesus. Then Pilate commanded the body to be delivered. And when Joseph had taken the body, he wrapped it in a clean linen cloth and laid it in his own new tomb.
Y'all see that? The rich man laid Jesus in his own tomb. Go ahead and read.
Which he had hewn out in the rock. And he rolled a great stone to the door of the sepulchre and departed.
Y'all see that one little detail Isaiah wrote, and we can still come find it back here in the new book. That's why we did that lesson. 2 testaments, 1 word. 2 testaments, but it's 1 word though. So now let's go into 1 Peter chapter 2. Let's see if we can see something else Isaiah wrote. 1 Peter chapter 2. All prophecy must be fulfilled. 1 Peter chapter 2. And let's pick it up at verse 21. 2 and 21. 2 and 21. 1 Peter chapter 2. Verse 21. Go ahead and read.
For even hereunto were ye called, because Christ also suffered for us,
yes,
leaving us an example that ye should follow his steps.
Now we kept on reading several times in the 53rd chapter that he died for us. He suffered for us. But it says here also that he left us an example that we should follow in his steps. If Jesus didn't go to church on Sunday, why are we running up in there like that? Huh? That's just like when Jeroboam set up them feast days. He set up in some feast days in the 8th month. Ain't no, Moses didn't write about no feast days in the 8th month.
Right.
Jeroboam set up feast days, set up his own priests. He set up everything wrong. The Lord despises stuff if it's wrong. He wants you to do it how he laid it out.
Right.
What's so hard about that? Oh, I know what it is. Grandmama didn't teach it to us like that.
Hmm.
Grandmama got a parachute to save you out that fire? I doubt that. Go ahead and read, brother.
Who did no sin.
Uh-huh.
Neither was guile found in his mouth.
Uh-huh.
Who, when he was reviled not again.
Even Isaiah told you there was no guile found in Jesus' mouth. Go ahead and read.
When he suffered, he threatened not,
Yes.
but committed himself to him that judges righteously,
Uh-huh.
who his own self bare our sins in his own body on the tree, that we being dead to sins should live unto righteousness, by whose stripes ye were healed.
So now in the fifth verse of Isaiah 53, he said that by Jesus' stripes we're healed. And then he said this too. Go ahead and read.
For ye were as sheep going astray,
He said that too. Isaiah said that. And we still are. Go ahead and read.
but are now returned unto the shepherd
Yes.
and bishop of your souls.
Yes, sir. So now let's go back to Isaiah and look at something else that he talked about. He told us about this person before this person came on the set. We just want one verse. Isaiah 40 and 3. Isaiah chapter 40 and verse 3. Isaiah told us about this individual long before he came. About 700 years before he showed up. 40 and 3. Go ahead and read.
The voice of him that crieth in the wilderness.
That where he's crying at?
In the wilderness.
He said the voice of him that's crying in the wilderness to do what, Brother Cortland?
Prepare ye the way of the Lord.
To prepare the way of the Lord. Go ahead.
Make straight in the desert a highway for our God.
Okay, so now let's go into Luke, the first chapter, and let's bring them out. Luke chapter 1. He said somebody's going to be a voice crying in the wilderness to prepare the way for the Lord. Luke chapter 1, and let's pick it up at verse 5. Luke 1 and 5. Luke chapter 1 and verse 5. Go ahead and read.
There was in the days of Herod, the king of Judea,
Uh-huh.
a certain priest named Zacharias, of the course of Abia, and his wife was the daughter of Aaron,
Uh-huh.
and her name was Elizabeth.
Mm-hmm.
And they were both righteous before God, walking in all the commandments.
Wait a minute. What you have to do to be considered righteous?
Walking all the commandments.
Is this the New Testament, Brother Gordon?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead and read.
And ordinances of the Lord blameless.
Go ahead.
And they had no child,
Mm-hmm.
because that Elizabeth was barren.
Mm-hmm.
And they both were now well stricken in years.
But we know that don't mean anything because we know about Abraham, right? Mm-hmm. So now skip down to verse 11 and continue.
And there appeared unto him an angel of the Lord standing on the right side of the altar of incense.
Uh-huh.
And when Zacharias saw him, he was troubled, and fear fell upon him.
Y'all see what happened when you really have a vision of an angel? He was troubled. Now he's the priest. Go ahead and read.
But the angel said unto him, Fear not, Zacharias, for thy prayer is heard. And thy wife Elizabeth shall bear thee a son,
Yes.
and thou shalt call his name John.
So he told him, hey, you're going to have a son. You're going to call him John. Let's skip all the way down to the 57th verse, to verse 57. And let's see what happened. Verse 57. Go ahead and read.
Now Elizabeth's full time came that she should be delivered.
Uh-huh.
And she brought forth a son. And her neighbors and her cousins heard how the Lord had showed great mercy upon her, and they rejoiced with her.
Yes.
And it came to pass that on the 8th day they came to circumcise the child, and they called him Zacharias, after the name of his father.
See, already here come Elizabeth's friends and cousins. They got the name for the baby. Well, women know they can get in each other's business, don't they? But let's see what happened. Go ahead and read.
And his mother answered and said, Not so.
That's right.
But he shall be called John.
Because that name came from the angel, and you know he got it from the Lord. Right. You're going to name that baby John, right?
Right.
Now skip on down to verse 76 and read.
And thou, child, shall be called the prophet of the highest.
Yes.
For thou shalt go before the face of the Lord to prepare his ways.
To do what?
Prepare his ways.
So now we see the one, we got a glimpse of the one that Isaiah was talking about, that voice in the wilderness, to prepare the way of the Lord. Go ahead and read.
To give knowledge of salvation unto his people. By the remission of their sins.
So now, let's look some more. Let's go into Matthew chapter 3. Matthew 3. And let's look at this one who's going to prepare the way for the Lord. Matthew chapter 3. Let's pick it up at verse 1. Matthew chapter 3 and verse 1. Because Isaiah said the one that was going to prepare the way was going to be like a voice crying in the wilderness. Matthew 3 and 1. Go ahead and read.
In those days came John the Baptist, preaching in the wilderness.
Preaching where?
In the wilderness of Judea.
Go ahead.
And saying, Repent ye, for the kingdom of heaven is at hand. For this is he that was spoken of by the prophet Isaiah, saying, the voice of one crying in the wilderness, prepare ye the way of the Lord.
Yes.
Make his path straight.
So we see Isaiah told us about John the Baptist way before John the Baptist came. Skip down to verse 5 and continue.
Then went out to him Jerusalem, and all Judea, and all the region round about Jordan.
Yes.
And were baptized of him in Jordan.
Yes.
Confessing their sins.
So now, let's go into the first chapter of St. John. John chapter 1. So John the Baptist was the voice crying in the wilderness who was preparing the way for the Lord. And even some of his followers tried to get him to say something against Jesus. But he wouldn't go for that. He knew better. John chapter 1 and 19. And if you're a voice crying in the wilderness, that means not many people are going to hear you. Right. John 1 and 19. Go ahead and read.
And this is the record of John.
And this is the record of John. Go ahead.
When the Jews sent priests and Levites from Jerusalem to ask him, Who art thou? And he confessed and denied not, but confessed, I am not the Christ.
So he told them, I'm not the Christ. Go ahead and read.
And they asked him, What then? Art thou Elias? And he said, I am not.
Go ahead.
Art thou that prophet? And he answered, No. Then said they unto him, Who art thou? That we may give an answer to them that sent us.
Go ahead.
What sayest thou of thyself?
So they say, you need to tell us something so the people that sent us, we can go back and tell them who you are. Go ahead and read.
He said, I am the voice of one crying in the wilderness.
So he told them, I am the voice of one crying in the wilderness. Go ahead.
Make straight the way of the Lord. As said the prophet Isaiah.
So John knew that Isaiah wrote about him. He knew that. So now, let's go into Matthew, the 4th chapter, and look at something else that Isaiah told us. But we're going to go to Matthew first, and then we'll go back to Isaiah. Matthew chapter 4. Matthew chapter 4, and let's pick it up at verse 13. 4 and 13. All these old prophets wrote a lot of good stuff. You can just sit down on any one of them and go find the things that they wrote about. I just happen to pick Isaiah because he's my favorite one. Matthew chapter 4, let's start at verse 4 and 13. Go ahead and read.
And leaving Nazareth, he came and dwelt in Capernaum, which is upon the sea coast in the borders of Zebulun and Nephthalim, that it might be fulfilled, which was spoken by Isaiah the prophet, saying, the land of Zebulun and the land of Nephthalim by the way of the sea beyond Jordan, Galilee of the Gentiles.
So he's talking about this land of Galilee, where you have the city of Nazareth and the city of Capernaum. Go ahead and read.
The people which sat in darkness saw great light.
It said the people that sat in darkness, they saw great light. Go ahead and read.
And to them which sat in the region and shadow of death, light has sprung up.
So this great light, and this light that sprung up, I wonder what that is. Go ahead and read.
From that time, Jesus began to preach.
So Jesus was that light in Galilee. Go ahead and read.
And to say, repent, for the kingdom of heaven is at hand. And Jesus, walking by the sea of Galilee, saw two brethren, Simon called Peter, and Andrew his brother, casting a net into the sea, for they were fishers. And he saith unto them, follow me, and I will make you fishers of men.
Yes. So now, let's go into Isaiah, the 9th chapter, because you might not have understood it the way Isaiah wrote it right here in Isaiah 9. Let's pick it up at verse 1. But he was letting you know where Jesus' ministry was going to be at. In Galilee, that great light was shining. Isaiah 9 and 1. Isaiah 9 and 1. Because we just read it, that it was fulfilled by the prophet Isaiah. The land of Naphtali and Zebulun, Galilee. Isaiah 9 and 1, my brother. Go ahead and read that.
Nevertheless, the dimness shall not be such as was in her vexation. When at the first he lightly afflicted the land of Zebulun and the land of Naphtali, and afterward did more grievously afflict her by the way of the sea, by Jordan in Galilee of the nations.
By Jordan in Galilee of the nations. Go ahead.
The people that walked in darkness.
The people that were walking in darkness. Go ahead.
Have seen a great light.
They saw this great light, and we know that was Jesus. Go ahead and read.
They that dwell in the land of the shadow of death, upon them hath the light shined.
The light shine on them that dwelt in the valley of the shadow of death, in the land of the shadow of death. So now, let's go back to Luke chapter 4 and look at something. Jesus' ministry was based around that area. In fact, Peter was from Galilee. Luke chapter 4. If you go into Acts chapter 2, when Peter was speaking and everybody was gathered on the day of Pentecost, and they said, well, doesn't he speak Galilean? But we hear him in our own tongue in the land that we were born. But Isaiah just gave us a quick shot that light was going to shine in Galilee. Luke 4 and 14, my brother, 4 and verse 14. Go ahead and read.
And Jesus returned in the power of the Spirit into Galilee. And there went out a fame of him through all the region round about.
So it said he returned in the power of the Spirit into Galilee. Go ahead and read.
And he taught in their synagogues, being glorified of all.
Go ahead.
And he came to Nazareth, where he had been brought up.
Yes.
And as his custom was, he went into the synagogue on the Sabbath day.
He went into the synagogue on the Sabbath day. Go ahead.
And stood up for to read.
And he stood up to read. That's when he went. So now, skip down to verse 31 and continue.
And came down to Capernaum, a city of Galilee.
That's another city in Galilee, just like Nazareth was. Go ahead.
And taught them on the Sabbath day.
When did he teach them?
On the Sabbath.
On the Sabbath days. That's when he taught. So now, let's go hit Luke 1 and 26. Luke 1 and 26, we just making a point here that Jesus did a whole lot of stuff in Galilee from city to city. Luke 1 and 26, but Isaiah pointed that out if your eyes were open when you ran across it there. About that bright light. Luke 1 and 26, go ahead and read that.
And in the 6th month, the angel Gabriel was sent from God into a city of Galilee.
He sent him to a city in Galilee, go ahead.
Named Nazareth.
And that was, I'm just pointing out that Nazareth, just like we saw back there in 4, that's a city in Galilee. And Jesus was called, a lot of times, Jesus of Nazareth. But Nazareth is in Galilee. And Isaiah told us that's where his ministry was going to be. His ministry would be based around.